I'm going to call this one the Black Sun or the Veil or basically the Abyss. Okay, guys, bottomless pit or whatever. Guys, if you've been paying attention, you see a lot of this concept of, say, it's either the swastika or the where is it? It's the Black Sun. Okay, guys, this logo, and you see this, you're seeing this everywhere today, especially with like the war in Ukraine and all that. There's one at the, looks like the SS Heinrich Himmler. They had that on the floor in one of their temples. I mean, it's just straight paganism, right? I think that's pretty obvious. But the question is what does it represent? And, you know, of course, if you're, like I said, if you're watching the news, they're putting this symbol everywhere right now in your face. You know, there it is at the, you know, at the flag. So you've got this concept here where a lot of basically the Black Sun, sure, you could say some people think it's a mysterious orb that you can't see, and that's what really causes the solar eclipse. Or it's Saturn, and that Saturn is known as the night sun, and obviously that's got the cube at the North Pole, right? So like the Saturn cults, right? So let's see. I mean, that could be Islam. I mean, you see the Saturn cults everywhere, right, guys? So, and like I said, that's at the North Pole of Saturn. But there's different theories of what this actually is, because I mean, obviously, what is the bottomless pit? And that would be the locust plague, right? So I mean, that's going to be the Islam back in the day during the Dark Ages. That would have been, you know, the fifth trumpet, right? So that would be the bottomless pit. So the question is this going back to that, is it okay? So is it Saturn cult? Or the cube, and I mean, even InfoWars has the cube logo, right? I mean, we've talked about that plenty in my other videos. Or is it the concept of a upside down hollow earth, and that's actually projecting like the sun, right? And that'd be the North Pole, Polaris, kind of like a CD. There's many theories on like what actually this is talking about, okay, guys? Because that gets into like the whole concept of like, say, Mt Meru, and that's at the North Pole, right? It's the landmass. Of course, I have this drawn. You've seen my picture. It's kind of the same thing. It's got the four rivers. Of course, this is Jerusalem, but Jerusalem is just symbolic of of Eden, I should say, right, guys? So, you know, on like obviously on all these maps, for example, you'd see this concept of like, say, and this is from a book no longer on the map. They've always got the land masses at the North Pole, right, guys? And like there it is right there. And then they started to delete these land masses as we go further on in, you know, in history, right? So the concept is this Thule, or, you know, what the Aryans were looking for, whatever, New Jerusalem, if you will, because remember, guys, during the Dark Ages, they went around and they named everywhere they went with a cornerstone, and they laid the cornerstone for a city called the New Jerusalem. So basically they went around, one, they're looking for gold. Two, they're going around laying cornerstones everywhere and calling places New Jerusalem. That's why there's a lot of Salems, right? That's just Salem is Jerusalem, right? So you see this every time in history, like I've said, is how you always see this concept of the eastern wind come, okay, guys? And that gets into basically the swastika symbol, or, I mean, because obviously it's an Eastern mysticism logo, right? The swastika. So, and that gets into, well, what is it? And it's the North Pole, and it's the, or Polaris, and then you have the Little Dipper, or the bear, and then the Big Dipper, or the Big Bear, and it creates that symbol, right, guys? So that's the North Pole. You see that? They're all rotating around the North Pole star. And then if you take the Black Sun, or even this is the Jesuit logo, guys. It's just a variation of the Jesuit logo. it's the 12, and so you just elongate this same symbol and it becomes the 12. So it's 3 months or 3 zodiacs per quarter, and it becomes obviously the 12 zodiacs or the 12 months. And of course, Jericho means moon or month, right, guys? So, and then this is obviously the 4 rivers in Eden, where it talks about in the Bible, or the 4 angels on the 4 corners. The 4 corners are most likely at the North Pole, guys. Okay, guys? So now we're starting to understand that this swastika, or the black sun, or the Saturn cult, or the cube, is this concept of the tables turning, or the fifth plague, or the abyss, guys. So is it a abyss, literal inner earth, like everything's being flipped, like aka tables turn, or is it just symbolic? I tend to lean toward that it's actually symbolic, but there probably is a landmass that they're not telling us about at the North Pole, and that's what's causing the green lights, the northern lights, right, guys? And of course, that would be the green horse, the North horse. They translate it as pale, but it's really a green horse, the 4th horse in Revelation. Watch my other videos on that. So this question is this is the location of probably where Eden actually was. And of course, during the Bible, Jerusalem was the center of the world. So that was symbolic of the new Eden, right, guys? So like that's kind of how I have this right here, right? So the concept is during the fall, they were expelled out of the Garden of Eden, right? So the concept of the Bible is getting back into Eden, and that's all of the world religions, right? And certain variations of it. So now we're starting to understand that Eden is this concept of this cornerstone, guys. Okay, guys? So the cornerstone is a cube, right? So the most holy, or the Holy of Holies, is also a cube, right, guys? So, obviously, look at the dimensions. You've got 2 cubes here and 1 cube here. And this is actually Eden, or where the Day of Atonement or the Ark of the Covenant is, right, guys? So now we're starting, and there's veils that separate these chambers, right, guys? So that gets into the New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven, which is also a cube, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And that's in Revelation 21 here, okay, guys? So it's a cube coming down, and probably that took me to a high mountain, was probably be that same mountain concept, right, guys? So now we can see that this cube is the New Jerusalem, or Eden, right, guys? And of course, if you look at everywhere in the Bible, all these women have veils. So a bride wears a veil, and the New Jerusalem, aka the cube, is a woman and a veil. You see that, guys? So they're synonymous. So this is, of course, you want to become a woman and marry the Son of Man, Yeshua. That's what's going on. You see what I'm saying? So this is the veil of, like, say, the Bedouin tribes people, right, guys? So now you're starting to understand that it's all about the cube, the New Jerusalem, Eden, or the sides of the north, or the veil and the marriage and the cube, right, guys? You see how that's starting to all connect now? So now we're going to start to understand that this cube concept is, of course, like I've said a million times, this whole sanctuary is a model of going back to Eden. And these represent the cherubs that were on the east side when they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, right? And the 4 pillars are probably the 4 cherubs, or the 4 cardinal directions, or the 4 rivers, okay, or the 4 cardinal directions, okay, guys? So now let's look at what's going on with a lot of these. Watch my last video on that Tartarian conspiracy, where I talked about this east wind, because that would be Eastern mysticism, or the true sealing, which comes out of the east. Remember how the angel rises from the four horns of the golden altar. Okay, what do you think that is? It's the same concept, right? The 4 cherubs, right? And he's got the seal coming out of the east, right? So the devil's going to counterfeit that with this Eastern mysticism. That's when the Euphrates dries up, okay? Watch my other video on that. But on these old maps, you'll see that they put on the east side either the sign of the Knights of Malta or the cross, and that's just the same as it's just the swastika. You see what I'm saying? So every time the phoenix blows itself up, you see this concept of the swastika come out, and this is known as the bottomless pit, guys. You see what I'm saying? So, and that would just be straight, this is just King of the South, or just straight paganism. Okay, guys? So now we're starting to understand that, and this is a Bank of America mural. You can see the cube, the woman, or whoever this is, trapped in a cube with a black sun. So there's very much so a connection with a cube and the black sun, or again, Saturn, or this, again, this whole concept. And that's the sand of the sea, or Gog and Magog. Again, watch my other videos on that. Okay, guys? So I got plenty of other notes here that you can read. It's hard to say everything in one breath per se. But anyway, so this is known as the tables turning, or the bottomless pit opening up. Again, is it a literal bottomless pit? Who knows? I think it's spiritual, but that's the King of the South, aka Abaddon. And of course, it says it here that says Abaddon is Greek. Why do you think it's referencing Greek right there? That's Greek mythology. This is the same thing as Greek mythos, which is just straight paganism, right? Versus the King of the North, which is just Catholicism. So anyway, so now you're starting to understand this is like the Boaz is King of the South. That's the fake feminine, whether it's Islam, Cube of Mecca, whatever. So this black cube is their version of the fake feminine. You see what I'm saying? So that's the devil's counterfeit. Okay, guys? So now in Revelation, it's all about you've got the harlot riding the dragon, right? So what they're doing is the concept of the veil, and say like the veil of the Bedouin, of the women in the Bible, right? Or the bride is, the concept is, this is as old as time. It's what the book of Revelation's about. It's about the dragon slayer, guys. This is either the knight in shining armor, or just the basis of every fairy tale that ever existed, right? That's what the book of Revelation is. So basically, the concept of this veil is in the game of, let's say, love, is the man is supposed to pursue the woman, okay? And that's the veil, okay? So all these douchebags in high school, for example, and like the whores in high school back in the day, think about it, is they gave themselves away without putting in the work. That is synonymous with jumping over the veil, guys. Again, it's the two pillars of Jack and Boaz with that false stairway. You see what I'm saying? So these are like the douchebags in high school going around sleeping around everywhere, okay? The tool bags, right? So they're getting into the sanctuary without putting in the work. You see what I'm saying? So they're cheating, if you will. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same concept trying to get into the most holy. It's their character, guys. It's these douchebags in high school trying to get into the most holy, trying to remove the veil without putting in the work, and that's what's going on. So that's why they're becoming male and marrying the harlot or the whore. You see how that, or the black cube, okay? You see, or the fake feminine. You see how that is? Again, that would be Islam. So it's all about this, if in paganism, it's all about the divine female and the divine masculine, right? And they merge the two, and that's Esau's stairway into heaven, right? So basically, like I said, is they're removing this veil without putting in the work. They're trying to, because this whole thing is an analogy of marrying the bride's wife, or the bride, the bride's husband and the lamb's wife, the bride. It's just this whole thing is marriage is a symbol, right, guys? That's what this whole process is. It's as old as time itself. So they're trying to get into the most holy without putting in the work, and that's what's known as jumping over the fence. Whoever jumps over the fence is a thief and the robber, who doesn't go in through the sheep gate, Yeshua says, right? So that's what's really going on with this whole black cube cult. And basically, like I said, is they're becoming male. That's why you see the obelisk. That's probably also on the North Pole, that could be the magnetic mountain. Again, they put that at the Vatican. It's the same concept. You've got the four directions, the four horns, right? But my point is, they're becoming male. That's Sodom and Gomorrah, and they're marrying the harlot. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So that's where this concept of the black cube comes from. Hopefully you guys are starting to understand versus, so that's the sons of Esau, the red shield of Rome, versus the sons of Jacob become female. You see, and then they become the bride that gets this, becomes the cube, I should say, as Revelation states, descending out of heaven. You see what I'm saying? So they get this veil. They put in the work, I should say, and that's why they wear basically that's why you see in the New Testament, the whole dressing modestly thing. You see what I'm saying? So that's where that comes from. But then, I mean, I don't think I need to explain that anymore. But anyway, that's what's going on with this whole cube concept. I'll probably have to do another part to that.